Welcome to Alouettes Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football. I am Tim Capper, along with Cliffy D. It is, it's like we've had Christmas twice this year. We had it when they released the initial 2021 schedule, and now, as we're taping this episode, Christmas came again. in more ways than one.
Yes, except this time we're actually, a lot closer to getting actual presents. Now, again, I'm of the belief that, don't get excited until it actually happens kind of thing, like like actual Christmas time. But, things are definitely heading in the right direction, and there's definitely reason to be excited for sure. Yeah. Because unless you've been living under the rock for the past 48 hours, we're playing football, folks, in 2021.
So the CFL tells us with the schedule release, but we've had that before. I'm sure we have to be a little cautious, obviously, because we are still in a pandemic, but but the way things are currently trending within Canada, it's very positive that it's possible that Percival Molson could actually be close to capacity by the end of the season.
It's very possible. So to our credit, we've been definitely doing all the right things. At least I feel like we have been. Numbers have definitely been showing that we're at least trying to do the right thing. So, people are getting vaccinated. People still wear masks. It's still mandated to wear masks here in Quebec. So, people are still doing that. By and large, I think everybody is doing their part to get back to as close to normal as possible. And that includes things like, going outdoors to concerts and going to socialize with people. And yes, it also means going to sporting events. As we've seen, the Montreal Canadiens have had 2,500 fans in each of their playoff games, and it's worked out pretty well so far. You were saying also, too, that that number is going to be actually going up for this upcoming series against the Vegas Golden Knights. So, things are looking good. So, all that said, now you've got the Canadian Football League essentially saying that it was a unanimous vote by the Board of Governors and the Commissioner that, yes, football will be played in 2021. Yeah. This is terrific news for CFL fans. It's great news for the players as well, because they haven't stopped. Like they've been preparing as though they're going to go ahead. And now that they know that this hard work is going to be rewarded, at least there's a much better chance of it being rewarded now. Get excited, folks. What can I say? It looks like it's actually truly going to happen this time.
I think we had some speculation a few episodes ago, what I know you and I have been talking about too, about what the schedule could look like. But I'm glad there's a schedule. I don't have anything negative to say about the current, at least for us. We're not the Ottawa Red Blacks, by the way. Thank God. Oh my God. I understand the issues that they may be having, but we don't have to play 3 games. We're one of their opponents, but we don't have to play three games in 10 days.
Yeah, I think it happens every season. Someone draws a short stick, and they got to have that sort of 3 games in 10 days kind of grind, and it sucks.
They're weird. And they're going to be basically playing. I can't remember what week it is. They play 2 games in 1 week, and they're playing, and they have Tuesday and Wednesday games. I thought those are only reserved for Toronto Argonaut games.
No, it's weird. How about the fact that the Montreal Alouettes don't have any Thursday night games? This was something that supposedly that the Alouettes wanted to hang their hat on, and thankfully cooler heads prevailed, and it wasn't necessarily the case. But like all of the games, with the exception, of course, of Thanksgiving, which, by the way, folks, we do get our Thanksgiving Day games. Thanksgiving Monday.
Thank God.
You better be at the stadium, because the Alouettes will be.
Thank God.
Yes.
Now,
but the fact that it's unbelievable we don't have like any Thursday night games
to play.
It it's nice. I mean, it's Friday night, Saturday night. Like those are our football
and
days.
Saturday afternoon. We have 2 4:00 games on Saturdays.
Yeah. I mean, like, I honestly, I've got no complaints about this schedule whatsoever. I mean, if you really want to find a negative, I guess it would have to be the fact that the Alouettes are on a bye week 1. So it's like all the hype, all the excitement, and everything like that of finally being able to get back on the field, and football's back, and then the Alouettes are just sort of sitting there like, waiting their turn.
So,
but it again, this is one of those things. It's bound to happen to you sooner or later, especially in a 9-team league. You're going to get that. Someone's going to have to draw that short straw, and have to sit out that first week. I mean, it sucks because again, the guys will have gone through training camp. There won't be any preseason games. I know there's talk of maybe doing some scrimmages with other teams, but essentially it's just a training camp, and then you wait, which. It's tough. It's definitely tough, but every team goes through it sooner or later. This just happens to be the year the Alouettes have to be the ones on the outside looking in for that first week of Canadian football.
Well, I mean, it's the first time ever in franchise history, Montreal football franchise history, that they're opening up in a bye week. It's never happened in their history since the bye weeks have become the norm in the CFL.
It's crazy.
We've been lucky. That's lucky.
It. And like I said, it's going to happen sooner or later, especially like with 9 teams. I mean, like that's just like the numbers say that, okay, someone's going to have to sit out. Like, and just this year it's Montreal. Yeah. It is what it is.
Yep. So the Alouettes will be opening up in week 2 versus the Edmonton Elks. And
even though elk is plural, it's the Elks.
Yeah. It will be the first time in 643 days that the Alouettes will play football. Whew. And our home opener will be 2 weeks later on August 27th. 656 days since the last Alouettes home game.
God. It feels like forever because, well, it was forever.
Yeah. With the Alouettes, just a few tidbits. With the Alouettes home opener in August, the first time that they had their home opener in August was back in 1976. And their latest home opener in team history was September 29th, 1946, and that was their first season.
It's going way back.
As we mentioned before, 3 Friday games, 3 Saturday games, 1 Monday. 2 of the Saturdays are at 4 p.m. The Monday game is the 1 p.m. Thanksgiving Day game. Mm-hmm. And the Friday games are at 7:30. If you happen to look at the schedule, it is weighted heavily. Home games are weighted heavily towards the second half of the season, and more specifically, the last 5 out of 6 weeks. We have 4 home games and 1 away game at the end of the year.
Yeah, and that was to be expected. This is something that they talked about, was pretty much having the Eastern teams go out and start the season out west for at least the first 2 or 3 games. So this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. I mean, it's, as things change, as provincial health guidelines and everything like that change. I mean, you just never knew which way things were going to go. So obviously the CFL was taking the safe route, ensuring that games were still going to be played and everybody was going to be able to stay in a safe environment. So, like I said, it's one of those weird quirks. Like, for example, like how the NHL, the Montreal Canadiens played only Canadian teams until they got to the playoffs.
Right.
That's just the way it worked out. Like, they're being in the Northern Division and only Canadian teams for the regular season. It's not going to be like that forever. This was just a special one-off. Just like I think this particular schedule is going to be a one-off as well. I mean, that's just the way it worked out this year.
I'm double checking here as we're talking. Trying to see if I can find it. For the first time, Cliff, since 1973, the league plays only 14 games.
Mm.
Obviously, this is because of a different situation. But there are still some quirks to this actual schedule itself. We play Ottawa 4 times. You don't usually see that in the regular season. You usually don't see that. But well, to be fair, I've not looked at some of the other schedules. Obviously, they have to be weighted heavily that way too for each of these divisions because we're not playing home and home series with all the teams, most of the teams in the West.
Yeah. On the plus side, we don't go to BC Place this year.
I was just about to say that. So the quirks of this with this 14-game schedule and not playing home and home with everybody, we actually do not play at home versus Edmonton for the first time since 1979. We don't play at home versus Calgary for the first time since 1980. We don't play at BC for the first time since 1980. And we don't play at Saskatchewan for the first time since 1979. And if I remember correctly, that was at the point where I think some of the preseason games, I have to go back and check. Some of the preseason games were versus some of the teams out west. This wasn't a full home and home versus East West.
Right.
So
no, lots of very interesting quirks that I think is going to make this a very memorable season for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah. So, and I guess the question is now, because with the release of with the announcement yesterday from the CFL and with the league promising updates on how fans will be allowed into the stadium and whatever the procedures are going to be coming soon. And the Alouettes said that today too with their announcement with the schedule. How is this going to look for fans in the CFL? Obviously, it was mentioned today by Justin Dunk because he was on the Rod Peterson show, which, by the way, he happened to forget the province of Quebec when talking about the different teams.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all about the provincial governments and what they're going to decide. And as you mentioned before, even though Premier Legault here was putting pressure on our health minister to allow more fans into the Bell Center, which is a closed environment, as everybody knows. Mm-hmm. They only increase it by an extra 1,000 people.
Right.
Which I'm sure they'll be masked, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So how is it going to work here? There have been numbers thrown around that it's going to be 35%.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I asked for this clarification, and it was like, well, is it 35% of the 20,000? And I was told at that time, this is before the announcement that we were going to play again, that no, it was 35% of the entire stadium. So what is our official? Is it just under 24,000 or just under
20? Yeah, just under 24,000.
I think it's just under 24. So do the math. So 30, approximately 1/3. We'll say 1/3. And you have your numbers.
Yeah. No, and again, and it all could change again. It all depends on, as I said, we've got to keep doing everything that we've been doing so far because things are looking up for the first time in a long time. Things are restrictions are being loosened, but that could all change again, especially too if people just don't pay attention anymore. A lot of people get into that mindset of, okay, well, we're allowed to do this now, we're allowed to do that, and let's just go nuts and pretend everything's back to normal. I'm like, it doesn't quite work that way.
No, it's not working the same way here as it is in the United States.
Right. I have to admit, it was jarring the other night to see the arena in Vegas completely full, and some people were wearing masks. I'll give them credit, but by and large, it just felt like, okay, as far as they're concerned, COVID was over. Like,
did you happen to notice though too? By the way, and I know we're getting off on going off topic here slightly, that even though it wasn't technically a full arena, because they had those tarps over the seats nearest the benches,
right?
So, what's the point? You know what I mean? But still, I'd rather have rough math. I'd rather have anywhere between 7,000 to 7,500 in stadium here in Montreal. Yeah. If my math is correct,
right?
Please at me on Twitter if my math is completely way off.
Right, and I think that's a decent goal to aim for, especially too by the time we get, by the time August 27th rolls around. If we can be at that point where we can do that, I think that would be a massive step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And then just as time goes on, as the months, as August turns to September to October, so on and so forth. I mean, if somehow, if everything keeps going the way it should be, and we can get to capacity by the time November rolls around, I mean, I think it'd be exciting. And I think at that point too, I want to believe as well, especially with the product that the Alouettes are going to be putting out on the field, this is going to be a successful product, and people are just going to be at a fever pitch and wanting to see football bad enough that, yes, it's going to be cold in November and December.
Dude, that last game, that's and I knew you were going to bring that up, because if everybody, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, Saturday game at 4 p.m., that would be perfect. A 4 o'clock game for the last home game of the year. Nuh-uh. It's a Friday game at 7:30, in the middle of November.
Yeah.
But to be fair, if anybody remembers what it was actually, how weird the weather was last November. 24th of November last year, there's a picture of me on my social media. 24th of November, it was something around that. It was 20. I was wearing shorts in November in Montreal. So who knows?
It's true. I mean, there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered. I mean, there's no question about that. But I mean, what's interesting to me is that with the announcement that came about the return to play being okayed, and it was anonymous and all that, but I think what's really impressive is that a lot of people were worried that there was going to be changes being made, like drastic changes, like for example, allowing 2 extra teams in the Grey Cup playoffs, so which would essentially be 8 of 9 teams. A lot of worry was going to be, other rule changes, or were things going to be or the wheels going to be put into motion with maybe adopting some different rules to sort of ease into the whole potential XFL CFL merger. Some people are still wanted to keep talking about, but I mean, as of right now, we're still no further ahead, as far as I'm concerned, from the announcement made several months ago about this possibility that the XFL and the CFL could potentially work together. There's still so much speculation as to where that's going to go. So I mean, for the board of governors to come out yesterday and Randy Ambrosie to come out yesterday and pretty much say that really truly the only changes happening is it's a 14-game schedule and 2 bye weeks, and by and large things are pretty much where they're supposed to be. There's no one division, there's no 8 of 9 teams making the playoffs kind of nonsense. Things are back. It's coming. The CFL is coming back as close to the traditional format that we've come to expect over the years.
Right.
And to me, I think that's huge. I think for that to come back without any sort of weird quirks or anything like that, nothing too crazy. I mean, obviously this is going to be a very unusual season for all sorts of reasons, but I think trying to keep the idea is to get back to normal. Everybody keeps talking about. I think in doing this, it shows that, okay, we're aiming to get back to what we consider to be normal for the Canadian Football League. So for them to come out and do this and say as far as I understood, they did and said the right things, saying that this was a unanimous vote to go ahead and play, because there was also rumors that perhaps Toronto or even Montreal were not interested in playing again, which I thought would be ridiculous. But
where that garbage came from, I was like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, no. And that's the thing. And maybe, again, at least if nothing else, maybe that truly was the case. But you know what? They still provided that united front that the CFL needs to show. And kudos to them for doing so. Like it's great to see, and just to see the fans so excited to know that football is coming back later this year is just that. It's exciting. And
we had to also give props because I don't know if this really got lost in the shuffle when it came to the announcement that the league was coming back. Obviously, the CFLPA has played a huge part in this, and we as fans really need to thank the players, because I heard that there were 19 amendments done to the current collective bargaining agreement for the 2021 season. 19. I've heard that a lot of them are not... it's not something that we would really care about as fans, but some of them I don't have the list in front of me. But there are some that, they seem to have worked hand in hand with the CFL in getting this done, because I have heard some very unique protocols that may be put in place for the fans. Excuse me, for the players. So 2021 is not going to be your typical season, whether we're on the field or not. Right.
And the one thing that I'll just add to what you were talking about, as far as the Players Association working with the CFL, is a far cry from this time last year, when all the talk was about the Randy Ambrosie going to the Canadian government with like hat in hand, looking for a handout to help move the league along, and the players weren't even involved in that, and they had little to no say in any of that. Like
that was that was a huge cluster. We all know that.
Massive. And I want to believe at that point lessons were learned, and maybe sometimes you have to do things the hard way. And I think that with that in mind, the league was and the board of governors were very smart to have the PA involved as much as they had. And like I said, kudos to the PA for working with the league, because at the end of the day, it strengthens everybody. It makes the product better. It makes everything better. I mean, that's really what you want to show, is that like this is a strong, powerful league. It has the potential to be something really special. I mean, 2020 definitely knocked everybody for a loop, but a lot of sports leagues got knocked down, but they dusted themselves off and they kept on going. CFL didn't quite do that in 2020, but in 2021, I think it showed that, okay, mistakes were made, we're correcting them.
Yeah.
We weren't sure how to how to progress with other things. We have a better idea now. It's not going to be perfect, but damn it, we're coming back, and coming back stronger. And that's the message that I got from the league and the players and the teams, everybody that's associated with the Canadian Football League. That's the message I got from them. And at that point, how do you not be excited? How do you not be stoked knowing that this is going to be happening? This is, barring something catastrophic as far as like health and safety concerns and all that goes, we're getting football back in 2021, Canadian football, that is, back in 2021. It may not be exactly like you folks remember it, but it's back, and you've got to appreciate it for what it is, and just be thankful that things now look like they're heading back to as close to normal as possible.
I'm curious to know, because Justin Dunk was talking about it today. He happened to bring up the point about the NFL did not have any preseason either, and it was the highest scoring season in history.
Mm-hmm.
That could easily bode well. I mean, we know the CFL, you can get some high scores.
Yeah.
It really makes me wonder. And I am almost hoping for that we get some shootouts this year. Let every team, come close to or break their all-time high in points scored in the season. Let's see this.
Definitely. Let's. I mean, think about Matt Dunnigan's record of 700 plus passing yards.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if someone just decides to go past that this year, and could very well happen. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be tested this year, and I mean, there's there's so much potential firepower out there, like, among all 9 teams. And it's so difficult. Like I know a lot of people are wanting to do predictions right away and trying to get that. Like
you can't. You can't.
You really can't. You can assume, but I mean, you know what happens when you assume, right?
Right. Now, here's a question because I was looking into this last night. Now that we have this, we have the schedule out. Look, we are going to be playing. Are you and I going to bet on the Owls winning the Grey Cup like we did last year when we were in Atlantic City? Because I've looked at some of the Canadian odds, and for $25, they win the entire thing. We can make anywhere between $220 and $250. Return.
Not bad. You know what? I think we got to look into this, and especially too with the Canadian government is trying to get single game betting passed through.
I know, because didn't the CFL use Bet99 last year, right?
It was Bet365.
It was Bet365.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Or was it the Argos that used Bet99?
Maybe it was the Argos. And I know Bodog does a lot of love with Canadian sports in general. So
yeah,
I mean,
Bodog too.
I mean, if you guys at Bodog are listening, I mean, maybe we can figure something out. You know.
Yep.
I'm sure there's other degenerates that'll be willing to get on board and get in on some of this action. So add us.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of off topic for the Alouettes, but more of a CFL thing since we are talking about the return of the CFL. I was able to break yesterday on my social that CFL stats legend Steve Daniel has actually been rehired by the CFL as a stats consultant. I spoke with him recently, and he was able to give me that news. If most of you don't remember who Steve is, we had him on quite a few times over the 6 years that we've been doing this show, and he was one of those front office staffers that were let go in August of 2020 after the season was canceled. So I'm glad to have him back in some form with the CFL this season. He is a stat goat. He's a goat when it comes to that. So
yeah, greatest of all time. Absolutely. And such a valuable resource, not just for us as podcasters, but also for the league, for all 9 teams. I mean, like, just a wealth of information. I mean, the work he's put in to compile all of these stats, and to the point, like, you and I, we can ask him just about anything, and within minutes he'll have an answer for us. Mm-hmm. It's remarkable. And this is a great resource that literally anyone can use. And for the CFL to have him back in the fold is a tremendous step forward. You talk about, as I talked about before, with getting back to as close to normal as possible, bringing back a Steve Daniel for the Canadian Football League. It's a move that would fly over most CFL fans' heads, and that's fine. But for like your stat junkies, for people that really are in the know and all that, like people who know Steve Daniel know exactly what he brings to the table, and knowing that he is back in the fold with the Canadian Football League that's a huge get, as they say.
Yep. We have a couple of standalone episodes coming up where we're talking with CFL alum and CFL players, so stay tuned for those. We felt that with this news today deserved its own show. But so stay tuned on all of our socials, including AlouettesFlightdeck.ca, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and also do not forget about, if you can, head over to our YouTube page and subscribe, as we're going to be having some added content that we're going to be putting up there, including the full episodes of our podcast. Also, we got some interesting news coming out in the near future. We're hoping to partner with some people for some giveaways and stuff like that. And so we'll have that announcement come out very shortly. And obviously, we we ourselves are going to be having giveaways.
In fact, we're still waiting to hit our 600 followers so that we can give away some stuff. So if y'all want some swag, I mean, tell your friends, tell your family, tell anyone. Let them know about the Alouettes Flightdeck. Tell them to subscribe. Tell them to follow us on Twitter. I mean, like, this is the opportunity, folks. Like, as soon as we hit 600 followers on Twitter, we're doing a giveaway. Who doesn't like free stuff?
That's right. We have a lot more to come with that, too, because we have some pretty interesting stuff, and we're still coming up with ideas for the contest that we're going to be doing. But stay tuned as Cliff and I will be racking our brains on what we're going to be doing. And also, do not forget about our if you want merch, I know we're going to be giving some stuff out in the near future, but if you want to get some stuff now, it's become very popular as of late. Head over to our merchandise store. That's at teespring.com/stores/Al's Flight Deck. And maybe with the season coming up, I think I see a promo code coming in the near future. So
there you go. I mean, folks, I mean, like, you've seen the swag. I mean, like, I won't say it's flying off the shelves, but I mean, like, we're starting to see more and more of it. I mean, like, and we're talking not just in Canada, but like in the United States as well. Like, folks are snapping up stuff. I mean, like, I'm telling you, like, if you want to support the Flight Deck, and we definitely appreciate each and every one who does, I mean, what better way to do so than with some killer merch? And let me tell you, like, the stuff is great. The products are high quality. They look sharp. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, you know, like we won't have that drip, as the kids say. But I mean, like,
God,
if you want to look fly, I've ever.
Oh my God!
You know, just buy the merch. Support local.
Oh my Lord!
Tim, you're supposed to be stopping me from this nonsense.
No, I'm allowing you to make a fool out of yourself.
Well, I don't need your help to make a fool out of myself. I can do that very well on my own. Thank you very much.
I'm surprised that you didn't use the word lit.
Well, is it too late to edit? Are we live?
We're never live yet.
There's a reason for that.
Yet. Yeah. So stay tuned. As I said, we got some great shows coming out and more to talk about, obviously, with the season coming up, and news on how fans will be allowed in the stadiums, and we'll keep you up to date as we can, as best as possible. Don't forget socials for us, Alouettes Flightdeck on Twitter. Cliff is at Cliffy D, and I'm at Repact, REPPACT. So stay tuned for more information and for more updates too on this 2021 season that we've been waiting for such a long time. And obviously the other way that you can help make sure that this 2021 season goes without a hitch is to make sure you get your vaccination. That's all we want to make sure. We want to see you in the stands, masked up or not. But there's always
socially distanced or not.
Yep, there's always a way that we can help get where we need to be. Is to make sure, please, make sure that you do get your vaccination. So no matter where you are across the country, make sure you get vaxxed up. You can say you say how you're swole, you're vaxxed.
There you go. I mean, and that's the thing. This is what I keep talking about like us following the rules and just doing those things that you need to do in order to make things happen. As far as getting back to quote unquote normal goes, these are the things you have to do. Go get vaccinated. Wear your mask. Socially distance. Keep following all the rules that we've been doing now for the better part of a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And I think this is proof positive that something's working here. I think this is a very good. The fact that we're getting closer and closer to getting football back, as close to as what we know from before. This is a huge. I mean, this shows that the work that we've been doing is going to pay off. Like there's finally that light at the end of the tunnel is getting bigger and bigger and brighter and brighter. I mean, that's what I'm taking from all of this, and it's because we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So keep at it, folks. That's all there is to it. Like whatever you need to do to get things back to normal, that's what's got to be done.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
Yep. So we will be back in a very short period of time. As I said, follow us on socials and just enjoy the news that you heard today as Alouette and CFL fans, that you will most likely be able to get into Percival Molson Stadium watch your team play, and hopefully recreate and continue what was started back in 2019. And let's get this, let's support this team, and let's get these guys, hopefully support these guys all the way through to the Grey Cup. So,
damn right.
Yep. So for everybody here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on Final Approach.